Most of my experience is in kindergarten through third grade, though I have taught up until middle school. The last 10 years I did spend as a reading specialist and literacy coach. So most of my time was spent with those most struggling learners in school, designing interventions that would help them to reach their goals in the classroom. And the rest of my time was spent working with classroom teachers, both new teachers and veteran teachers, to help them implement various literacy-based practices in the classroom. Outside of school, I'm married with 2 kids, both in high school this year, and we love to travel and get outdoors. So that's a little bit about me, and with that, I will get the presentation started. Okay, part of my role as a reading specialist was to take part in those yearly kindergarten screenings that we did for our school district. It's at this screening when we assess the student's letter and number identification, as well as other skills, to see which incoming students may be in need of additional supports for the upcoming school year. It was evident to me each year that the skills I was seeing were declining for many of the incoming students. I noticed that our students struggled more and more to hold a pencil to write their names, and many couldn't do this at all. Scissors were especially challenging when we had the skill to try to cut the paper along the line given. However, while the children waited in line to be screened with their parents, I noticed that many of them played on their parents' phones or their iPads or other devices, seeming to be able to navigate these quite effortlessly. As we know, there is a direct correlation between screen time and a decrease in school readiness skills. I was really seeing this firsthand each year at the screenings, and it made me curious in what we could do to try to combat that. Some of the consequences noted from educators in students from too much technology are weakened hand strength, difficulty holding pencils, inability to cut with scissors, attention difficulties, an increase in eyesight problems. So what can we do? We need to make learning fun and engaging. And learning in a multisensory approach helps students to cross that all-important midline, engaging both sides of the brain. Furthermore, finding ways to use fine and gross motor skills during learning activities allows students the opportunity to strengthen both the motor skills while also learning important concepts in the classroom. When students learn while engaging muscle movements, they tend to access information rapidly and with little thought. Learning sounds and letters through the senses helps students to get to that stage of automatic retrieval faster than they would through just sight and sound. Knowing all of this made me even more eager to integrate the senses into skills needed for reading, and I began to try to learn as much as I could about this, to teach students pre-reading skills that integrated movement as much as possible. Children who have phonemic awareness have an advantage in that they are able to hear sounds, and that allows them to connect sounds with letters. I'm going to go through a typical order of teaching those important pre-reading skills, and while there may be some variance in the exact order in which these things would be taught and or assessed, depending on the curriculum that you use in your program, and according to who you are reading at the time or speaking to, you will typically see these same skills assessed in phonological awareness tests given to young children. I'm going to go through these skills quickly here, but I will share more specific ideas for each of these throughout the presentation. So the skills we want students to be able to do are syllable deletion. So an example is, say cowboy, now say it again, but don't say boy. We also use rhyme recognition. Can the children recognize if 2 words rhyme? Dime, time, mouse, mat. They should be able to recognize that. Rhyme oddity. This is when the children can figure out which word in a series does not rhyme with the other 2. Cat, bell, hat. Can they find the one that does not rhyme? We also want students to be able to produce rhyme in rhyme production. So tell me a word that rhymes with land. In syllable segmentation, we move into breaking apart words, starting with syllables. I'm going to say a word, picnic, in 2 parts. Pick-nick. Now we would ask the child to say the next word in 2 parts. Party. Are they able to do that? We also talk about syllable blending. Can you put these 2 parts together? Present, to make the word present. Now you put these 2 parts together. Surprise. We also talk about the identification of beginning, final, and medial phonemes. So after students have learned to identify syllables, or those larger chunks of words, we then want to work on them identifying the phonemes, or the smallest parts of sound. What is the first sound you hear in bell? We want the students to find that B sound. What is the last sound you hear in mop? We're looking for the P. And what is the middle sound that you hear in cat? After they're able to identify phonemes, we want them to be able to blend phonemes together. Let's put these sounds together in phoneme blending. I. Can they say hi? G, O for go. Moving up to 3 phonemes and then 4 phonemes and blending those together. After students are able to blend phonemes, we also want to practice segmenting phonemes. This is an important skill for pre-reading. The sounds in the word mop are m, ah, p. Can you tell me the sounds you hear in the word pot? Then we move to phoneme deletion. So it's saying a word and taking out a phoneme. So if we say the word meat and we say it again without the m, what word do we have? Phoneme manipulation is where we are changing sounds around. So if we say the word cat, but change the first sound to b, what new word do you get? Can the students come up with that word, bat? We always start that with changing out the first sound. Once they're able to do that, we would change out the final sound. The hardest for children to do is changing out that middle sound. And then phoneme addition, which is what word would you have if you added another sound to the letter? So if we add s to the beginning of top, what word do you get? So throughout this presentation, I will be describing some multisensory ways that you can instruct children in all of these skills. Most of them will be fun and easy and take very little time, so we can add them into transitions or exiting the classroom. This is a picture of a book called The Literacy Link. This was one I was introduced to several years ago in education. I had observed a large school district in Milwaukee, and I was walking through the primary classrooms, and I noticed all of the classrooms, all of the primary students reviewing their letter sounds using hand motions. When I asked about this, I was given this book, and I reviewed it, and I learned that the whole school had used this book as a guide. Now, while I do not think there's any one right way to teach letter sounds, I definitely believe in the power of finding some type of hand or body motion to correlate with letter sounds. We decided to try this in our district, in all of our primary classrooms, and we saw a great success in letter and sound recognition during our benchmark testing. We continued to see that success into 1st and 2nd grade when the students began to put their pen to paper to develop those sounds. In addition, once students learn this set of hand motions or another, it really does help them down the road, especially, like I said, in that writing area. So I'm going to show a video of the literacy links, hand motions that go with the alphabet. And as I said, this was the one that I've experienced, but other authors and other researchers have similar things out there. So like I said, I don't think there's any one right way, but I just want to give you an idea of what this looks like. So I am going to play the whole thing so that you can see the entire alphabet. The link to this video is up at the top in case you want to find this on your own after the presentation.
My ABC. A for apple, A. B for bear, B. C for camel, D for dog, D. for elephant. F, F, F. F for farm. G for goose. G, G, G. H for heart. I for igloo. I, I, I. J for jar. J, J, J. K for kite. L for lollipop. O, O, O. M for muffin. Mm, mm, mm. N for nest. Mm, mm, mm. O for octopus. Ah, ah, ah. P for pumpkin. Q for quilt. Qu, qu, qu. R for rainbow. S for sun. T for toothbrush. U for umbrella. V for vest. W for watermelon. Wa. X for exclamation mark. Y for yo-yo. Yeah. Z for zipper. My AB.
Okay, so like I said, there are others like this. This is the one that I have used. It came from the Literacy Links book that I showed earlier, and the book actually has the exact directions on what you do with your hands for those, but the video is there to kind of show you, and the parents appreciate the video as well because they always want to know how to help their children at home. Once the students have learned an alphabet using their hands or using their bodies, they can use that with any song or activity you do in the classroom. So when we walk around our classrooms at school, all the kids are doing the same motions, but they might apply them to different songs that that particular teacher likes to use. The nice thing about having your whole school or group of students learn it the same way is it carries through year from year. And like I said, when they get to first grade and they start writing, it's really nice for them to have some type of reminder while they're trying to put those sounds to paper. So along with learning and reviewing those letter sounds with hand motions, when it comes time for that practicing the forming of letters for writing, it's great to have different ways that they can practice the form repeatedly. This helps them to use their senses. So on the left, you see a tray that I have with contrasting color and texture sand. This particular sand has like a fine purple sand mixed with a coarse black sand. So there's two textures at the same time. And kids love the sand because as they form the letters, they really feel the texture of the sand. And then I usually put a white piece of paper underneath so they can really see that contrast of color as they're practicing their formations. And another easy to use method is the squishy bag method, and the recipe's on the slide. It's super easy. 1 cup of flour, 6 tablespoons of water, and a little bit of food coloring. Put it in a heavy duty bag. I don't suggest a really cheap one because the kids are gonna test the limits with this, but you'll seal the bag. I would suggest reinforcing over the seal with tape at the end just to make sure it's reinforced and it's not gonna leak. And then you lay that bag on the table and they can practice those formations of their letters there too. This is something easy you could also do for a make and take with families when they come into your classroom, and they can take them home to practice. Another one you'll see used a lot in classrooms is the shaving cream on the trays method, and I know some teachers even just put the shaving cream right on the tables. Using a contrasting color in the tray is nice with the white shaving cream because it also gives the kids the visual of the letters that they're drawing. So anything that we can do to get kids to feel and engage their senses when they're forming the letters as they're beginning to write, the better. So I'm going to go through some of those skills that I had up in the beginning, and the first one was syllable deletion. It's easier for children to begin these skills, like I said, with larger chunks of sounds. So starting with syllables over just isolated phonemes is always suggested. For all of these activities, you can use picture cards like I have here and will be given to you as a PDF after the presentation. These ones that I'm showing up at the top are from Teacher Pay Teacher, but you can make your own, print yours online, have the kids color them, or you could buy them ready-made. You'll see that I use the same set throughout the next several activities. One of the activities is called Sound Muncher. And you see these little trash cans that I have on the table there. Those are actually little lint trash cans, and I found them on Amazon a few years back. They come in different shapes, and they're kind of fun for the kids. So for this one, I would use the cards on the bottom right, where you see rainbow, bookcase, and football. And I would hold up the sign that says rainbow, and I'm going to repeat the word 3 times. Rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. I'm going to take away bow and throw it away. What's left? And the children should be able to say rain. I'll continue with the next word. Say it 3 times. Bookcase, bookcase, bookcase. I'm going to take away case. I'm going to throw that word case in the can. What's left? And the kids should be able to say book. Same thing with football. Another fun activity is called Syllable Muncher, and that's the puppet you see there in the middle. For this activity, you're going to need some compound word picture cards like I have up at the top and a puppet of your choice. I designate one puppet for this activity, and he is actually our Syllable Muncher puppet. And the puppet says, and of course you'll have to use some kind of funny voice that you can come up with, I am the Syllable Muncher, and I eat words. You have rainbow, and I eat rain. What's left? The children should be able to say bow. I usually start this with the whole class using volunteers, so I'm not putting any kids on the spot. But then later on, the same activity can be done as an assessment down the road when you do this activity, one student at a time. So you'll start with those compound words. You can start by taking away the first syllable, and then once they get used to that, take away the second syllable. So airplane, airplane, airplane. I take away plane. What's left? So you can go either way with that. Magic syllable is another one down at the bottom right, and you would put your compound words or your pictures on a whiteboard, or you can have them printed out and have magnets on the back, and you're going to point and read the words, and then you'll cue the students to take away part of the word. Rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. Ask your student to take away bow. They will either erase it or just remove it, and ask them what's left. When I have students volunteering to do this, I definitely have them touch both parts of the word, left to right. Rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. They're getting that left to right tracking when they're doing that. Okay, so that was some ideas for syllable deletion. And then we're going to go into rhyme recognition. So rhyming a word, and you're going to see these same little clip arts throughout. And again, these were from Teacher Pay Teacher. When we do rhyme a word, we say 2 words. And if they rhyme, have your students do something physical. So if these 2 words rhyme, class, I want you to clap your hands. Dip, lip. They're going to clap their hands. Give them 2 more words. If these 2 words rhyme, stomp your feet. Rug, run. Well, those 2 don't rhyme, so they should be still. Another fun one is musical rhyme. This is probably my kids, one of their favorites. So we're going to give each student one of 2 rhyming pictures. So you need to have a deck of rhyming cards. Each card given should have a rhyming partner that is given to another student. So you need enough for all students to get 1 card. If you have an odd number of students, make sure you give yourself a card so that they do have a match to find. You're going to play some music and tell them to walk around the room until the music stops. When the music stops, they need to find the person with their rhyming card. Once they find their partner, they go sit down. Meanwhile, you as the teacher would walk around during this time, giving hints, asking for some words that they could rhyme with, and helping as needed. When they're all done and those partners are sitting on the floor, they can take turns standing up with their partner and sharing their rhyming words. Another one is rhyming trash cans. So remember those sound muncher trash cans? I use those for multiple purposes. So I actually no longer have that label that says sound muncher on them because we ended up using these trash cans for many different activities. So you'll show 2 cards with images. If they rhyme, the student keeps them. If they do not rhyme, they throw them away. So if we did mug, rug, and the student realized that they rhyme, they're going to keep them and sit down. If they don't rhyme, they're going to throw it away. And either way, it's fun because, of course, they love to hang on to their cards, but they also like the action of throwing them away. So it's a win-win. We then move into some rhyme oddity games. So you're going to see those same little lint trash cans because I use those all the time. For rhyme oddity, there are 3 levels or stages, so to speak. So I'm going to discuss the order and how to progress from easier to more difficult as the children's skills progress. You'll use the same rhyming cards throughout that you have in your classroom. In level 1, you'll show 3 images, saying each one left to right as it's placed in front of the children. The 2 that rhyme should be the first 2 cards, and the non-rhyming word should be at the end. This is the easiest level for students to hear that discrepancy between rhyming sounds. Dip, lip, rug. We want to always try to enunciate that ending sound for the students to hear if it rhymes or not. And again, I always say it 3 times because that allows all the students to tune in and hear those sounds. Dip, lip, rug. Dip, lip, rug. Dip, lip, rug. Which word doesn't rhyme? They could take the word that doesn't rhyme and throw it in the trash can. Level 2 would be the same idea, but now you place that non-rhyming word at the beginning of the 3 words. So in this case, it would be lip, mug, rug. You still have the 2 consecutive rhyming words, but the non-rhyming word is in the beginning. The third and final level is placing that non-rhyming word in the middle. And I would suggest not trying that until the children have successfully been able to complete the other 2 levels. This one does trick them up a little bit when they're new to rhyme. So mug, lip, rug. I like to always have the children touch the picture cards as we're doing this, especially if you're in a small group or if you're working one-on-one and they can. If you have a large class that you're doing this with, you would have these up on the board and you would be tracking left to right or having a volunteer come up and help you do that. Mug, lip, rug. Now it's your turn to point and say the word. So now you have your child do it. Mug, lip, rug. Which word does not rhyme here? So students get that left to right pointing and tracking as well as the vocalization of different words doing it this way. Any activity where we can practice that like left to right before we're reading, we want to try to do. Another one that you can do would be placing the words in a pocket chart or up in the board for practice. So you have 4 words on the board or in the pocket chart. Have students take turns walking up to read the words with you and find the one that does not rhyme. Even if they're not reading, you can read the words for them while they point and they are still listening. Once they found the word that does not rhyme, they can say out you go or gotcha or any other phrase that your class agrees on when they catch that non-rhyming word, and they can throw it in that trash can or a bag or a basket or whatever you decide to do with this. You can do this multiple times to give different students a turn. Rhyme production. So after children can recognize when words rhyme or not, we then want to move into them producing their own rhyming words, even if they're nonsense words. That's why nursery rhymes and some of those silly songs we do as early childhood educators are so great with young kids. One song that is fun to do is the Willoughby Wallaby Woo song using the students' names. I'm not going to show this whole video, but I'm just going to show you a snippet so you can see them up learning to rhyme with their names.
Willoughby Wobbly Wee, elephant sat on me. Willoughby Wobbly Woo,
Okay, so you can get the idea there. They're learning to rhyme with their names. It's nonsense, but they're getting that idea, and they're up and they're moving, and it's fun, and this is what the kids remember. You can do simple rhyming riddles in your class, like the one I've written out here. Tell me a word that rhymes with bug. Tell me a word that rhymes with bug. Tell me a word that rhymes with bug. Bug, 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 bug. If a kid raises his hand and shouts out hug, then you'll go with that. Hug is a word that rhymes with bug. Hug is a word that rhymes with bug. Hug is a word that rhymes with bug. Hug, 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 hug. And now you'll repeat that. Now you'll ask them to give you a word that rhymes with hug and keep going. You can do easel rhyme, where you're going to write your endings all the way down an easel and have children give you different beginning sounds to make new words. Even if they're not reading, they can do this because they can hear the at sound. So put at in a row down your easel. Ask them to give you different beginning sounds to make new words. They can make bat, cat, the other bat, rat, hat, mat, bat, sat. And if you can draw a little picture, even if you're not a great artist, draw a little picture next to it. It really helps them begin to associate images and attach meaning to those rhyming words that they're hearing. So there are a lot of great ways to segment syllables using the senses. And I'm sure that some of you listening and watching today have some that you already do. And when we get to the end of the presentation, I would love to hear your ideas. A few of my favorites are pull apart syllables. And these are using those old plastic chains or blocks that infants and toddlers use that you can find at some of the stores or maybe a garage sale. And you're going to build 2, 3, or even 4 block chains with those pull apart plastic blocks. So if you give a child a 2-block chain, you're going to give them a 2-syllable word to break apart. So hand them the chain and say the word picnic. Now have them separate those blocks as they break apart that word, picnic. Give them the 3 blocks and have them separate elephant, elephant. They're feeling each syllable. Another fun one is giant step. You can do this with numbers taped on the floor as shown in the image or without. I actually have never used the numbers myself. I generally have the children stand on one side of the room. I will say the word. I will have them repeat the word while taking a step for each syllable. We can change the way we take our steps too. Sometimes it's a giant step. Sometimes it's a baby step. We might do tiptoe steps. We might walk on our heels. Again, this is great for integrating some gross motor skills into their learning. So if I say the word cabin, I'm going to have the children repeat that word, cabin. Then I'm going to ask the class to clap it with me, cabin. Then I'm going to ask them to step it with me, cabin. How many steps did you take? A variation that you can do is to put pictures representing words or objects of multisyllabic words into a bag. Pass the bag around. Each child pulls out a card or an object. They say the represented word. Say it's butterfly. They're going to clap that out. Butterfly. Then they're going to walk it out. Butterfly. How many steps did they take? So they're getting multiple ways to hear that word and say that word and feel those syllables. Chart it is something that you can do for even more independent practice, possibly a center activity or even an informal assessment. You'll set up a pocket chart with the syllable columns labeled with numbers. Each column has a number. Children sort those picture cards that they've actively been using throughout the different lessons you have done with them. And they're going to sort them based on the syllables that they have. Okay, now that children have had practice pulling apart syllables, we want to make sure that they understand those syllables go together to make a word. So we want to practice syllable blending. For blending words, the teacher says a word broken down in syllables. And you're going to have the students pull the word back together. I'm going to take myself on the video here. So when they're blending it, so say I say the word cow, boy, I want the students to pull the word back together using their hands to pull across their body. So whatever their dominant hand is, have them go left to right. Pull that together, cowboy. Okay, now I want to do surprise. They're going to pull it together, surprise. They're crossing their midline, they're going left to right, and they're using their body and their senses to do that. Another one you can do with a puppet, my kids have always loved puppets, so I have quite a few of them, is called troll talk. So you have a puppet and you let the kids know that that troll or that character puppet gets stuck on words. So maybe this character puppet is talking to them and gets stuck on a word, and the students are going to figure out what that puppet is trying to say. So maybe he says Barbie in his sentence, and the children need to think and shout out the word Barbie. You can do it with a story or a little conversation they have with the children, and every once in a while the puppet should get stuck on a word and have the children practice how they blend that together. Syllable bingo is basically playing traditional bingo, but you say the word segmented. The kids find the word as they blend it to themselves. So you may say baseball. The kids are going to physically look for a picture of a baseball because they're blending it in their head and they're finding what that word is. Once the children have practiced and played around with syllables, and that is going well, it's time to begin manipulating phonemes, or those smallest units of sound. We always start with their initial sound because they're most successful with that skill. Then we move into isolating the final sounds, and then after that we would work on the middle sounds. A great way to practice is just an easy game of I spy. I spy something in the word that in the room here that starts with B. When you do that, if you've taught them hand motions for the sound, make sure you're always using those because some of the kids rely on that. I'm looking around the room for something that starts with B. Have the children look around the room and name items that start with that sound and share their answers. In a scavenger hunt you can do with paper lunch bags where you will write the letter in lowercase to start on each one and place the objects with the same beginning sounds throughout the room and let them go find them. Then once they've got that, you can change that to being the middle sound or the ending sound depending on what you're working with. And then in bag of sounds, you'll use one of these little, you can use a paper bag, any kind of bag that you've got. Place your pictures or objects into a bag, making sure that most of them have matching beginning, final, or middle sounds, depending on what you're working with. Have students pick 2 out. They'll say the objects or the pictures, and if they have a matching beginning sound, they'll keep them. If not, they'll put them back in the bag and hand it to the next student. Take out 2 of the items. Do they have the same beginning sound? If they do, you keep them. If not, they go back in the bag. So you can do that for all of those skills. Do a round with beginning. Once they've got that, you'll do it with ending sounds, and then finally middle sounds. Really easy. If you've got 5 or 10 minutes in between activities, this is a fun one to pull out with the students. Phoneme blending is where they're going to start blending their sounds together to make words. Breakaway is a fun way to do it and gets them moving. You would designate an area of your classroom for students to break away to. This works best if you have another adult in the room that can be in the breakaway area. So the teacher would break apart a word using hand symbols. So say the teacher says k, a, t. Students need to figure out what word they're blending, and then when they do, they yell breakaway, and they could go skipping or tiptoeing or whatever you decide to that breakaway area, and they'll whisper the word all together to the helper or other teacher on that side of the room. Fun tunes or songs, we make up a lot of songs. I think we all do that working with young children. So this one was to the tune of the Oscar Mayer Wiener song, which the kids probably don't even know, but we do. Oh, I wish I were a little at, using your hand symbols. Oh, that is what I'd really like to be. Oh, I wish I were a little at. That is what I'd really like to be. What am I? I'm a, and they should yell out, cat. You can do it too if you're happy and you know it. If you're happy and you know it, say this word. If you're happy and you know it, say this word. If you're happy and you know it, then tell me what you've heard. If you're happy and you know it, say this word. J, p. And hopefully they're yelling out jump. Phoneme segmentation. This skill is highly aligned to successful reading ability for students in first grade. We want them segmenting and blending phonemes. We want them to be able to answer how many sounds do you hear? What are the sounds you hear in the words? So we're going to use those same picture cards from previous activities. So if the word is box, we want the children to know what the sounds are. So we're going to use those hand symbols, b, a, x. But we also want to know how many sounds in box, b, a, x. You might clap it out. You might use your fingers to count it out. Another great way to figure out sounds in words are those Elkonin boxes, which you see in the picture at the bottom of the slide. This example picture shows you a word with four sounds, clock. So it would be k, o, a, k. Every time you're moving a marker up for each sound. But we would not start with 4. We would want to start with an Elkonin box with, say, 2 boxes for a word such as am, and they would move a marker for both sounds, and then go back and touch that, and then go back and blend it, am, and then they can easily count it. How many sounds are in that word, am? They can count that marker, 1, 2, left to right. Once they're able to do it with 2 boxes, you can move up to 3 boxes. And then as they become more confident, you could move up to 4. You will get an example in these of Elkonin boxes in the PDFs that are being attached with this presentation. Finger counting is great to do with the kids. Say you hold your fist up, say the word, count out those sounds with your fingers. So k, a, t, raising a finger for each sound. Have them count your fingers with you. They can try to do this when they're little. It's hard for them to raise up each finger, but they like to count your fingers and touch your fingers as well. So it's an easy one to do when you're waiting in line or waiting for something to start that you can whip out anywhere, and you don't need to even have any materials with you. Now we move into kind of manipulating the words. So now they're used to separating sounds, and now we can start deleting some sounds to see if they can recognize the remaining sounds. So with all these activities, I like to rely on those hand symbols. But say the word cup. Now say it again, but don't say k. You need to think about what's left. Up. Say the word fair. Say it again, but don't say f. Or say the word tall. Say it again, but don't say t. So again, we start with playing with the first sound. Then we move to playing with the last sound. So say moon, but say it again, but don't say the n at the end. What do you have left? Say hair, say it again, but don't say the at the end. What do you have left? Again, these activities you can do anywhere. You don't always need to have supplies with you. One step beyond deleting a phoneme is manipulating the phonemes or adding new ones in to make new words. This is quite sophisticated for young children, and even beginning readers may struggle with this. So what word do you have if you change the t in tall to b? And I'm using my hand motions with them, so have them repeat with you. What word would you have if you change that t in tall to b? And they've got to think and come up with ball. What word do you have if you change the h in hug to r? What word do you have if you change the t in tail to s? We're looking for sail. And then we have phoneme addition. So you already have a word and you add a new sound to the beginning or the end. What word will you have if you add the g to the beginning of low? G, low. And they come up with glow. What would you have if you added a t to the beginning of rain? They should come up with train. Okay, this slide I realize is a little bit fuzzy to read the way it comes up on the presentation, but it is one that will be included in your resources. And this came from one of the many free resources available at the Florida Center for Reading Research. If you have not been to that website, they have all kinds of printables with great directions and things that you can make into activities for your classroom. They are all free. You're able to use them in any way as long as for reading instruction, and they have a couple disclaimers on there, but you're able to use them like I am in this presentation. Anything to teach reading and these type of activities, these are available for you. I have the website listed at the very bottom, and I will share it again in a slide or two with you. This one is an activity where you print the wheel as shown, and then the picture cards representing words are like slices that you're going to lay down to complete a circle. So they're almost like pizza or pie slices. The students pick up a card. They say the word. Then they're asked to say it again, dropping the final sound. So if they pick up hammer, they have to say the word without the final sound and find the picture of that to lay it on top of. So now hammer without the becomes ham. So they're looking for a picture of ham on the wheel to lay it down. All of these activities are great to do whole class. You could use one of those document cameras that you can kind of show them before they use it, but some of those are great for small group activities and for going home in backpacks for parents to do with their children. As I mentioned on the last slide, that Florida Center for Reading Research is a fabulous site with those free resources for you. So I have the website here for you. And like I said, I will have a couple files for you at the end of the presentation so you could get started with a few of these activities right away. I'm going to share a couple resources that I tend to use a lot just so you're aware of them. There are these tins of different words from super duper publications. I know they sell them on Amazon and other retailers. They actually have tins of cards ready to go that match almost all of these activities that we did. They have syllables, they've got rhyming words. They're not very expensive. I kept them all in a basket near the door of my room so I could quickly grab them and we could do the activities as we were walking, or just had them really easy to grab. But like I said, you can always just make your own, put them in envelopes or baggies and have them ready to go. I just did want to share these because I'm not one that spends a lot of money on materials, but I thought they were pretty reasonable and I used them so much. I did think they were worth it. And then that sand that I shared before, that is actually from the Orton Gillingham website where they sell some of their products. And I learned about that through an Orton Gillingham training that I went to. I bet you somebody out there is very creative and they know how to make sand like this. I did not know how, so I did purchase it. But it is one of my all-time favorite things. And kids up through middle school really liked practicing writing with that and just feeling it. And, you know, kids love to use their senses. And I think it's just soothing for them. So I wanted to share those. Some of the handouts you were getting, they were attached at the beginning of the presentation. So I was sharing with you some rhyming cards on a PDF, some Elkonin boxes, some phoneme segmentation activities, and then some syllable cards so you could get started with some of these activities right away. And now one of my favorite things about teaching and presenting is how we all share with and learn from one another. And I'm certain that some of you listening or here today have done some of these activities and may have some others in your toolbox that were not mentioned. So I just want to open up the chat and I'd like you to share either what is one way that you have used to incorporate the senses into literacy learning, or what is something that you learned today that you would take with you in the future. So Erica Lee is going to use the puppet and the bingo word. It could be a good way. Yes, they're fun. Hopefully you can use some of these things in your classroom. The walking out the syllables is fun. The kids seem to love that one, and the rhyming activities. You definitely want to have a couple puppets. That is about their favorite thing to play with. Yeah, most of these activities are very easy to do, and that was one of the biggest things is that trying to teach teachers when I went into the classroom that you don't need a lot of time, and some of them are perfect just to you need a filler for 2 or 3 minutes before lunch, do a couple of these. It gets them moving, it gets them thinking, and they're learning at the same time. I'm going to share my email on the slide. If you have any questions, I would be happy to help you with any activities or share anything with you. So feel free to email me. And thank you for having me present. I had a great time.
Michelle, thank you so much for presenting these ideas. The chat box was going crazy. You're going to have to go back and look through and see all of the wonderful things that people were saying about your presentation. You did amazing. So thank you so much. Yes, thank you. And I hope that you will do this again next year. The participation certificate is in the chat box now. And the things that she said that she added were uploaded before the presentation. If you scroll back up, you will find 4 different PDFs that I did upload there. And our next presenter is Cassandra Melendez, and I believe she is in the room. So she can upload at any time. Michelle, thank you so much again. We appreciate you so much. I want to give a quick plug for another thing that Dr. Hield and I will be doing this upcoming year. We are starting a leadership series August 21st. It's something that you will not want to miss. It's going to be once a month, every 3rd Wednesday. We will do it twice a day, once in the morning, mid-morning, and once in the evening for those of you who are working during the day. It will also be recorded and housed on the Google site. Our first one is with Nancy Moretti. She also presented yesterday. She is going to do one on networking and using LinkedIn to start your early childhood career as a professional. She's going to have some wonderful ideas. She is going to do exploring how to create a LinkedIn profile. You may or may not have one. You can still come because she's also going to add, learn how to use LinkedIn to network, build your tribe, build who you're networking with, and learn how to use LinkedIn to find jobs and internships. So she is wonderful at that. She has hired many early childhood professionals. So we do want to invite you to that. I actually am going to put the link here. I just added it to the chat box. That will take you straight to our leadership page so that you can see when it's going to be and the ideas that you need to do before and things like that. So I'm so excited to announce that we will be doing that leadership series, and it will start on August 21st, and we will do it every month until the end of the year, and then we'll do our conference again. We just decided that we needed more during the year and not just the conference, because we really do want to come together as professionals to engage and collaborate. So we're super excited. I'm going to give about a 10-minute break, and then we will start on our last presentation of the day. So take a short break. Thank you.